everybody. Wow, this is a big room of people. And I can't see any of you, fortunately, because the lights are too bright. Otherwise, I might get nervous. But it's an honor to be here with all of you today, with so many people so dedicated to what I think is the most important cause in the world, and that is trying to give our kids a better and a brighter future. Everyone in this room probably has been at this a lot longer than I have. My background is not in education, it's in journalism. And people often ask me how I got involved in education reform and advocacy, and the answer is a simple one. I'm a mother. I have two little boys, ages 5 and 6, Eli and Asher. And I remember the day that my first son was born, and I remember holding him in my arms and realizing in that moment that my life had changed forever, and nothing now mattered more than caring for this little boy and loving him and ensuring that he had every opportunity in life to be all that he could be. And what I also knew, what I was so grateful for, is that I had been really lucky in my life. And I had had this great career in TV news, and I was in a position to give my son opportunities. And I started thinking about his education from the time he was a baby, thinking about what I wanted for him, grateful again that I had choices, and the ability as a parent to do whatever was best for him. And what I also knew is in the great city of New York, where I lived, and all over this country, there were millions of mothers just like me who loved their children just as much as I love mine, who had the same hopes and dreams for their kids that I have for mine, who do not have a choice and are not able to give their children what they so desperately want for them. In the last 2 years, I have devoted myself to this full time, and I began spending a lot of time with these mothers and fathers. These are parents who are fierce in their love for their children and dedicated to trying to give them better opportunities in life, signing up for charter school lotteries, fighting for their kids to have better options, fighting for a choice. I serve on the board of Success Academies, and this year I saw our parents fight with a passion that left me in awe. When politics, and it was pure politics, threw these parents a curveball, when the most powerful entrenched special interest in the state of New York applauded while the mayor tried to take their schools away, these parents, thousands of them, stood up together, they made their voices heard, and they fought. They did not blink, they were fearless, and they won. We are in a fight. This is a war. And if you believe in what you are doing, then we have to fight for our schools. I wish we didn't. It is crazy to me that this is a fight. And as part of this community, you know how much joy there is in what you do. It will never cease to amaze me that there could be anything controversial about your accomplishments or the achievements of the children that you love and support. It amazes me that anyone, anywhere in the world, would dare try to put a chokehold on one of the most exciting, innovative things happening right now in public education. But as we learned in New York this year, and as many of you know from your very own experiences, keeping great charter schools open, operating, and growing is a battle. It is a battle every single day, and it is not going away. It's not going away because there is no compromise possible. I was a reporter for NBC News for 11 years, and I was at CNN for almost 3 years after that. I was hired for my first network television job by Tim Russert of Meet the Press. Wonderful, wonderful man. Tim was very old school journalist, and he trained me in the ways of old school journalism. And back then, I went to work every day believing that basically both sides in any debate had some merit and deserved a fair hearing. And my job as a reporter was essentially to referee the match. But sometimes you are presented with a problem, and it is so clear that both sides do not have merit. And when the lives of children are literally hanging in the balance, you cannot play referee. If we want to do what we know is right, what is truly right, then we have no choice and there is no compromise possible. Even if we try to assume the very best motives from the other side, what we are dealing with here are two vastly different points of view. Reconcile the view that schools are a force for good with the view that they are a threat. If we believe that charter schools serve the best interest of children, limiting them is a limit on that good influence, and how could we ever accept a compromise like that? This isn't a complicated problem. There's just no middle ground. It's a simple question of right versus wrong. Our political leaders, the state, the local, and the federal level have to make a choice. They have to choose between making a comfortable interest group more comfortable or being a true force for good in the lives of our children. It is a simple and clear choice. You can protect the public interest or you can protect the status quo. But you can't do both. You can fight charters and what we all do as a threat to union privilege, or you can support charters and embrace reform and be a true leader on behalf of children, but you cannot do both. Those on the other side, they keep telling us that charter schools aren't the answer. They say, what about all the kids who can't attend a charter school? Well, no one is saying that every public school kid should be moved into a charter. What we are saying is that the excellence of our charter schools should be moved into every public school. You know, the other side, they're right when they say this is a fairness issue. It is a fairness issue. There is no reason that all kids shouldn't be held to the same high standards or have the same challenging curriculum. There's no reason that all public school teachers shouldn't have the same accountability or the same support and professional development. In a rational world, our district schools would see the example of great charter schools and they would follow it instead of resenting it. In a rational world, principals would be able to put the best people in the classrooms possible without rules restricting them that have absolutely nothing to do with the quality of learning. In a rational world, our districts, our leaders, would have the power to fire a school employee who has been found guilty of sexual misconduct with a child. We do not live in a rational world. As some of you know, this was the issue that took me from being a supporter of this cause to an activist in the fight. It was a couple of years ago, and I read this story in the newspapers in New York about these 14 teachers who had been found guilty of sexual misconduct with kids and still had their jobs. I was so horrified by this. I mean, can you imagine if your kid was in that teacher's class? There's this crazy state law in New York, and there are similar laws on the books in many other states that gives tenured teachers protections that no other public employee has. And it took the power to remove or fire an abusive teacher out of the hands of school leadership, and it gave that power to an arbitrator who the union has a say in choosing. And so the end result was that even the worst offenders, people you would never consider letting anywhere near your kids, had been found guilty of misconduct and kept their jobs. So as a mother, this offended me so deeply. I mean, in part because I knew I could protect my kids from this. I have the power, I have the means. The victims here are the most disadvantaged children who have no one fighting for them. So I started an organization, and we launched a campaign to try to bring attention to this outrage, because who, I naively thought, would dare defend a system that puts the rights of child molesters before the rights of kids? So this campaign got a little bit of attention.
But not a damn thing has changed. Because our state legislators tell us that we don't have the same power or the same influence or the same money in order to compete with the teachers' union. So a bill that would solve this problem, that would change the system, just sits there. Think about the absurdity of this for just a second. We had to wage a campaign to try to win political support to get child molesters out of the classroom. What kind of world do we live in? And we haven't been successful yet. This is a screwed up system. It is corrupt and it's failing. And the other side is nothing if not relentless in keeping control over it, which means we have to be just as relentless in the mission that brings us together here today. And that is the simple shared belief that if any parent wants to try to find a better school, to try to give their kid a better life, that should be no one's choice but theirs, and nothing should stand in the way. You know what, though? Sometimes, out of this kind of frustration, comes the will to be bold. Like these 9 students you probably heard about in California, who had the courage to stand up and tell the truth about their broken system and fight back. The families of Vergara versus the state of California, with their lawsuit challenging this system, have opened a door that now cannot be closed. By taking this action, they've inspired families and students all over this country. And last week, I, along with my colleague and friend, Reshma Singh, an Achievement First alum, we announced the formation of a new organization called Partnership for Educational Justice. Our organization will help and support 6 families in New York who are planning to make a similar legal challenge, filing a lawsuit in New York. We'll be filing it later this month that will challenge the constitutionality of tenure, of LIFO, and of these dismissal protections. And you know what? Other parents and other students in states across the country are today asking the very same question that these 6 families asked. When our political leaders fail us, can we too turn to the courts? This was a very important victory in California. And some very influential people are not at all happy about it. And they still have all kinds of power. They have the power to stop change, to shut doors, and to close things down. But what makes me hopeful is the strength of the people in this room. They may still control the system, but you have the power to persuade. A successful charter school speaks to an undeniable truth. It says this is what every school can and should be for every boy and girl. By saving kids and giving them a chance, you're only reminding people of what they're being saved from, a system that has lost its way. I just want to say one thing very clearly. This is not about fighting the teachers' union. The teachers' union is doing exactly what you would expect it to do. It is defending all teachers, good and bad, no matter what. That is what their priority is. That's what you would expect the teachers' union's priority to be. This is about our political leaders and letting our political leaders know that supporting your work is a test of who they are. This is not partisan. We don't care what side of the aisle they're on, Democrat, Republican, Independent. This is simply right versus wrong, and there is no middle ground. And you have to tell them, you have to tell them in your loudest voice that we will never support any effort that compromises a child's future, because a child's hopes and dreams will never be ours to compromise away. To the people in this room who are dedicating your lives to this cause, there is nothing more important in the world than the work that you are doing. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for everything that you do and for the kindness that you've shown me here today. Thank you so much.